Hours-long queues snake through the streets as throngs of Queen Elizabeth's former subjects watch the late monarch's state funeral, waiting to pay tribute. But this is not London, nor anywhere else in the Commonwealth of Nations. It is Hong Kong, once a British colony, now a special administrative region of China.
Because I was growing up during the colonies era, and then I thank for the Queen to lead all the British politicians to give us a stable Hong Kong, a civilized Hong Kong, and she, they give us a free education and then a well-constructed legal system.
Many of the thousands lining up to sign the Book of Condolences at the British Consulate General look back on rule by London as a golden age.
英女王即係仲係英國我叫做統治緊嘅香港嘅嗰段期間咧，我會覺得係叫做算係97之後，97年之前算係最美好嘅一段時間，因為佢各方面嘅自由都俾到好盡。如果有個對比嘅，即係大家都話冇對比冇傷害，而家有對比，我就覺得。
This nostalgia is not shared in every corner of the former British Empire. Historians say Hong Kong's experience in the late 20th century was an anomaly.
The sort of reinvigorated colonialism we saw in Hong Kong from the 1960s onwards was really in stark contrast to the dismantling of the British Empire that was going ahead everywhere else. There was a sort of hopefulness in the air, and that carried on for several decades. And then that coincided, of course, in Hong Kong with people arriving from mainland China in the 50s and 60s, trying to get themselves a better life. And so there is naturally an association with good times, if you like.
These last few decades of British rule saw the emergence of a welfare state, public housing, universal education, and a booming economy. It also produced much of what is recognized today as Hong Kong culture.
The whole of that moment was accompanied by local Cantonese-speaking Hongkongers developing a new kind of culture. So basically, the British had left open the opportunity to develop this new Chineseness, and local people took it and invested it with their own language. And it's that aspect of Hong Kong identity which was allowed and even encouraged by the British, which is now under threat in Hong Kong.
2 years after Beijing's imposition of the national security law, there are over 1,000 political prisoners in Hong Kong, according to the Hong Kong Democracy Council's Political Prisoners Database. The United Nations Human Rights Commission has called for the repeal of the law, which is used to jail or exile the political opposition. Despite the outpouring of grief, some say Britain also bears blame for surrendering its subjects to this fate.
Late colonialism was a unique kind of colonialism, and it was a kind of colonialism that didn't end happily for the people who'd been colonized. There was no moment, not even a sliver of light between the British leaving and the Beijing authorities basically taking overall control. So I think since 1997 we've been living in a sort of Alice in Wonderland landscape where people were hoping for the best, but the best was never ever going to be possible. The Queen's reign didn't really do that much good in the end for Hong Kong people. Indeed, we see today that the institutions, such as the judicial system left behind by the British, has indeed failed them.
With protests in Hong Kong extinguished by ongoing COVID gathering bans and the national security law, the mourning of the Queen has become a unique venue, a chance to praise the past in order to criticize the present. Ryan Ho Kilpatrick for TaiwanPlus.